In the middle of everything here at Skagit Valley College, instructors have their own boats, their own boat projects. So we're doing repowering home again. We're getting the mast on Thor to do some sea trials. And in the midst of, we just finished Seattle Boat Show. Here's what the bottom of Black Pearl looks like.
Wait, a new shaft in Black Pearl? Why? Well, visiting with alumni and friend Zach from Kingspoke, the surveyor, when we put the new transmission in, we had to slide the shaft back. And what I told him is you can't unsee this. Look at that crevice corrosion where the cutlass bearing was sitting. It was significant. And so I saw that. We also were missing threads where the nuts that held the propeller on. So when you start looking at this stuff, you're like, it's time for a new shaft. And there was some other areas like this zit right here. And I'm not sure. I've seen those spiral all the way into the middle of a shaft, and all of a sudden your propeller breaks off. So we had to fix this. Okay, so we got to back up a little bit on Black Pearl. We haven't been documenting this. We did King's Pride refit and Home Again and Thor, all these other projects. We've been working on Black Pearl this whole time. We actually put a new engine in. So before this shaft project, the Perkins came out, a new Yanmar went in, and then we were doing some sea trials. We actually got up to Vendovi Island. You can check out that, to Fluke's Memorial, with the Skallywags. And those were just some sea trial trips with that new Yanmar that's sitting in there. And shortly thereafter, we blew the transmission. Come to find out, it was an old oddball velvet drive that actually had it was the counter rotating, meaning the prop spun different direction than the engine did. Maybe that's why it blew out. We don't know. But we got a tow back, emergency haul out, pulled the old velvet drive out, and got a new one stuffed in last summer. And so that's when we saw the crevice corrosion and decided that we had better do something about the propeller shaft. And so that kind of completed the drivetrain refit with engine, transmission, mounts, shaft, the works. And so now we're in good shape.
Don't get too many days in February like this. It's beautiful out. Next week when we put her back together, it's going to be raining buckets, I'm sure. So, whatever.
Okay, the rest of this video, another half an hour, we put together for Matt's students in drivetrains class. We had a couple Skallywags help with this process, but they all didn't get to see it. And so some of these documentations are just for our students so they can see what to expect and how to put the training we've given them to good use. So if you're interested in removing a shaft and a propeller, and down in that shaft alley, it was super tight, new packing, fitting a propeller to a new shaft, and other things like that, getting a rudder up and out of the way. You can see that shaft won't come out of there because of the rudder, all sorts of things like that. So if that's something you're interested in, follow along for the next half an hour, and if not, thanks for watching, and we'll keep putting out all the other fun stuff that you watch, tech tips and refits and fun things like that. Welcome to the Skallywags, located in the beautiful Pacific Northwest, where Skagit Valley College has been training technicians since 1968. If you are looking for industry certification and the skills to work in maritime, this is the place to visit. Our staff will share so much knowledge and experience, you will not be disappointed. The workforce demand is very high, and all of our graduates are working around the world. If this sounds interesting to you, schedule a tour and come check us out.
Yeah, so that's one of the things we don't like about this design. We're going to add a separate anode to protect this running gear, because this thing doesn't work well and it doesn't come apart, and yeah, it's got all sorts of issues. So back to the shop, get the Sawzall, we'll cut that off, and then we can finish removing the propeller. Just want to make sure, yep, it's going to have enough throw to get to the end of the shaft. It's going to work perfect, like it was made for it. So now we'll go to the shop with a couple 3 tasks to get done. That is Sawzall, long 2x4. I know this is going to work. Then we can break the coupling free. which I do right now, but it's approaching lunch break. Okay, so the nut doesn't fit off or on. Bad design. We're gonna fix that. So we're gonna just make a little more room in here is the plan. We're also going to add a better way to attach an anode to this hull because we're not using this old system anymore. Try to get some pictures. Hopefully this turns out on film. See, there's all these threads eaten up and missing. That's never a good sign. And then this, that is what we saw back when we did the prop, and anytime you have that kind of stuff happening, that is no good. Okay, we pulled the ratchet strap, still didn't come, so we just unbolted the 4 bolts that hold the whole bearing. So the bearing race is stuck on the shaft, so no big deal. There's a big fiberglass thing that holds the bearing. We just took the nuts off, and now the thing will come up and out of the way, in theory. Which my wife says is where I spend a good life, good chunk of my life. All right, coming up. Okay,
we're free.
Justin, let me pull it my way if I can. All right, let go.
Yep, I'm let go.
Okay, now hold there.
Hold in.
What we're going to end up doing now is pulling the prop. Hey, Tim?
Yeah?
You can hear me?
Yeah, I'm up to the hatch right now, yeah?
So, is the ratchet strap off?
No.
So we're going to take that off. What we're going to try and do is bring it down.
Okay, lower it off to the side of the boot.
Yeah, we've got it sitting so it won't fall.
Okay, so
But even if it falls, it'll be fine because it won't go that far.
okay, I'm gonna remove the strap then.
And then remove it and pop up and let us know when you're done. So what we'll do, Justin, is we're going to pull it my way
Okay.
with the bottom here. And you'll probably have to put the 2x4 in here maybe. Maybe use a short one. You shouldn't need a long one.
Like that? Like,
No.
oh, like right in here?
Yeah, but let's use this shorter one. I don't want to put. So you put a little pressure. I'm gonna wiggle it. Hold on in mine. Okay. Leave it right there. Let's just take it off. What we'll do is we'll wait until we get the prop off and the coupling off, and then we just pry it off to the side. Okay, Tim, we're gonna work on the prop.
So dropping it completely out is not what you're intending?
No. Well, because this shaft's 4 feet long, you'd actually have to lift the boat into it, you know.
Okay. Just trying to get some room.
We just need the shaft out. The rudder's just in the way.
Is that prop speed on there?
It is prop speed.
And is this a recent application or no?
No, it's 2 years old. So see what we're gonna do, Tim, is we can move this now.
Because all you gotta do is get the.
We gotta move it. It's quite a bit. It's a lot of pressure, but we gotta move it. It's an 1.5 inch shaft, so we need 3/4 of an inch to the side to get the shaft out.
What are we doing about the prop?
We're gonna do the prop and the coupling next. So
Is it on?
I think, is it blinking red?
Yeah.
Hi. Okay. Tim, you want to get that big crescent wrench right there on the ground? Oh, I'll let you do it. I gotta run this nut out here to hold this. Okay. Once we pin this side, then we'll squeeze on that end and see if it comes off. That's 2 years,
Not
just a
cheap.
pressure wash.
Not cheap either, though.
No.
But
And I'm just gonna put it back in water and use it again. Okay. Start snugging on that one. Okay, hold it. Now take our little hammer there.
Yep.
This will be the hard part. I'll try and turn this a little bit. Can you get it? You give her a little love tap on there?
you try it from. want to use a wrench to get some.
Yeah, like that.
Try.
Give it a good whack. There we go.
Yeah.
Easy squeezy.
There's your key.
There's the key coming out. Just get there we go.
Okay, good. That actually makes a good stop.
Yeah. The key to stop moving. Got a stuck key. I'm gonna have to get it. Oh, there it goes. All right.
Oh yeah, she's in the prop.
Yeah, but hold on. Move the.
Right there.
All right, now, how far forward does the shaft go?
There's the key.
See how tight it is? I'm gonna go look inside. We're gonna make it a half an inch shorter on the new one because there is just not enough wiggle room on this thing.
Yeah, boy, there's no room for. And that's with the shaft back about an inch, or a rudder back about an inch down here.
Right. So I need to check the.
You want the key just left sitting down here?
Yeah, we're gonna. It's got a new one. So.
Yeah. Thank you, Justin.
Yeah.
You're on film, Mike.
This is the fun spot.
Yeah. So right now we're trying to get the puller on the shaft to pull off the coupler. So we had to use a socket as an extension because the puller wasn't long enough.
Well, because I got the long jaws, and I
Yeah.
should have probably gotten the shorter jaws. But back and forth to the shop, we make do with what we got.
Mm-hmm.
Huh.
You didn't even need it?
Well, I
You
just
just-
needed it by hand was all it looked
It was
like.
the threat of using it.
Threat of using it.
And we have extraction.
Alright, there's a coupler. Set that off to the side. And socket. Don't need it.
Now here, let me hand you this. Should come off.
Huh?
We'll put some new packing in that.
Look at that.
Let's get a shot of that.
See if I can get
Oh,
this
yeah.
out of my way a little bit more.
Yeah.
And then now let me have that other. While I'm sitting here comfortable, even though I want to get the shaft to the machinist, hand me that bigger wrench. The red, smooth jar. I'd like to get this nut off of here.
And don't lose that part of the jaw.
Well, I don't know if I can use this little one. Maybe we have a bigger one.
We do?
Yeah, it's in the back there. Yeah, I'm gonna probably need that since I don't have the nut for this one. Yep. Just don't lose the thing when it comes apart. And then I'll get a wire brush and clean up all these threads really nice and give us a good inspection. See if I can drop another nut in the bilge.
Yeah, why not?
There's a good chance. This isn't the right size for this guy here. We'll see if it shows.
And that just acts like a jam nut for this portion.
Yeah, this is the jam nut. So you tighten your packing up, and then you
Squeeze that down.
squeeze this down, and then boom, you're good to go. Like I said right here, Justin, you weren't here. See this grease circ?
Yeah.
That's why the shaft is greasy. Is when this packing got wore out. We've had a grease circ in here. You can just pack this with a little bit of grease, and then you can actually take the nut off in the water, and you don't get flooded with.
Oh,
Um,
it's genius.
well, it seems to work. I don't know if there's any ill effects. You don't get water flow for a little bit, but this thing's got a 3-to-1 reduction gear, really super slow turning, and of course grease is a nice lubricant. If it gets warm at all, the grease melts, and so it seems to work really good. So we'll get these threads cleaned up and get that repacked. But let's go get the shaft down to the machinist. We need to. It isn't going to fall out because when you push the sideways pressure on it, it pinches in the bearing.
Okay.
So, yeah. So we can just pry the rudder over and out of the way, and hopefully to get that 3/4 of an inch.
We have 12 feet.
Well, we can still have to take the coupling off. So we're going to come back 2 or 3 feet, stop, get the coupling off, get the packing gland freed up over on this side, and the keyway and everything, and then we'll finish the removal. So one of you pry over and one of you see if you can pull the shaft. I may have to go inside, but
Just another prior. Oh, pry! Don't lose that.
that's we're gonna get a new one, but I'd like to keep it just because. So remember, you're trying to go sideways more than anything. So you might actually, let's get the longer one. Let's go from here across.
Yeah.
Or
What if we move the block over and use it as a pivot to lift up
the
and
longer
over?
one.
yeah, let's use. We got the longer one right here, and then
If you were to use the block to try and...
if we just do this, I can even lean on it.
Oh, okay.
Shit, I can lean on it. You two, see if you can get that shaft to move. Now hold on a sec. We gotta do one more thing. We need to turn the rudder like that.
Binding in the hole back there.
Yeah, it's binding for sure, but that's okay. We may have to go inside and push on it, and as opposed to pulling.
Okay, here. There's something up there to pry with if I need it.
Well, you're gonna see it. It's tight up in there. Maybe I should go. The shaft alley is. There's a little square hole, Tim. It's something. Let's well, let's pause right here. Let's go up there by Tim. Well, I'm just gonna go up there. I'm gonna pull the packing loose, so it'll be just a minute.
Sorry about the missing footage and some of the shaky camera and whatnot. We were running a short crew, and this is the first time for these guys to do this work, and so we were all focusing on the work more than the video. But for students, you can see there's a lot of messing around, and it takes quite a bit of time to get a propeller shaft out potentially. But once we got the coupling and the packing loose and that, it slid right out, went right past the rudder, and everything was good. We got it down to the machine shop. We had prearranged a slot to get the machine work done. They had to cut the new shaft to length. We had a shaft with a taper and everything ready to go, and so we got it cut and faced, and they did a great job, and then we were ready to bring it to the shop and fit the new propeller.
John at Machine Shop just took care of us, got the coupling all fit, keyway, cut to length, everything on the new shaft. Now what we're gonna do is make sure that the propeller is sitting on it and has the right amount of contact with the shaft. This is something that Matt teaches and I haven't had to do, but I know the drill. So what we're gonna do is take the rubber hammer, prop off, and we will paint this with our bluing. Hopefully we have, oh yeah, we got plenty of this stuff. And then the idea is we'll put the prop on and see how much contact we have. And if we don't have enough, of course, we put some lapping compound in there and spin it. The bronze propeller is softer and it'll essentially machine itself to a perfect fit. And then we'll test we do all this without the keyway because we want to make sure that the prop is fitting on the shaft and not binding on the key. Then we'll mark down here how far the prop needs to go on, so we'll test it. When we put it on the boat, we'll know for sure that we're getting it all the way on. We have our new nuts, cotter key, the works. So yeah, we'll give this a second to dry, and then it dries pretty fast. And we'll see how it goes. So we're just getting there, but let's see what kind of contact we're making now. That's way better. Yeah, I like it. So now you can see, sorry about the camera, we're just making contact pretty much down the entire length of the taper. And so we will, now what we do is we fit the prop back on, snug it up. We just want to know where it goes. Oops, I'm gonna have to take a acetone, clean the shaft. And I think with our valve grinding compound, you can see exactly how far up the propeller should ride right here. But we want to make sure that that's the right line and mark it. And then after we install the key, put the propeller on, half nut, full nut, keyway, but we can ensure that it went all the way up on it, didn't bind on this key somehow, so that we have a good fit. So
The reason we're paying attention to these details is look at this. I can't remember if it was Justin or Tim. I think it was Justin. This boat was parked right next to Black Pearl as we were pulling out the shaft. And we've trained the technicians. You're always looking around to see what you can find. Here's an example of somebody put a prop on, hadn't marked the shaft, didn't know how far it was supposed to go, and it clearly didn't go all the way on. And so what happens is when you go in forward and reverse, this prop can start moving back and forth, and obviously that's no good.
that is exactly where it goes. It stops right at that lapping compound joint where we polished. So we know now, we install the half nut first when it's on the boat. So tomorrow we'll get down to the boat and actually be able to final install this nice 4-blade. This thing really pushes the boat like a mule. I'll put this here so we don't lose it. I just want to make sure that the keyway looks like we got enough threads for complete engagement. Perfect. Put a stainless cotter key in it. We're headed down to the boat tomorrow. We're going to reinstall this thing. It'll be time for going for a boat ride.
Okay, had some more missing footage, but what I did is that bronze casting there holds the cutlass bearing, and you Skallywags, some of you saw it up in the shop there. We took and pressed a new bearing into the housing, and then of course we had to do a bunch of cleanup and get it back down and ready to reinstall. So it all takes time, sitting there in the pouring rain. Not as lovely as the day before when we hauled and when we pulled the shaft out. But that's okay, we're getting it done.
This all cleaned off. We got the new bearing in here, and what I did in the past is this boat, when I got it, had severe misalignment. The cutlass bearing was wore down to just about the brass on one side and all the rubber was still on the other. So we took it apart and started with new motor mounts and got the engine all realigned. And then we put the shaft in. We had the stern bearing holder, put it on, and if I was to tighten the bolts, of course, it was cocked. So we put in a bunch of thickened, we cleaned this all back really well and put in thickened epoxy and just snugged the bearing housing done with some tape on it for release and let this cure. So now I have a nice flat surface. I'll put a little 5200 on here and reassemble. What I'll do, because it's a new shaft, of course, is check it again. We'll get the shaft put in, get it hooked up on the front, check our alignment, and then we'll bring it back here, snug it down, make sure the shaft still spins freely. If it does, which it certainly should, we'll 5200 put this together, get the prop back on and the rudder back on, and we will be good to go. That super cool. Got it through the intermediate bearing, so now we can just awesome. Next step, go inside, reinstall the coupling, which has been faced. Looks beautiful. We can match that up to the gearbox, double check alignment. We're getting this boat back together today. Okay, trip number 2. Hopefully we can catch this on film down here in the place where it's. Let's see what we can see here. There we go, that's me. Okay, so we measured, first of all, I have 1.31 inches to the set screw. Where the dimple is. So we are going to take a little piece of blue tape and mark from the dimple so that we know that the coupling is installed where it needs to be, so that the set screw will drop in there. We also, of course, don't forget, we put this on. We'll do 3 rows of packing in here and tighten that up before we go in the water. But we grab the keyway now. We should be ready to install the split coupling. Gonna put a little anti-seize on the keyway. Fits nice, but we'd like it to come out someday. Don't want very much on there. We don't want to bind it, but a little bit goes a long ways. I could also watch that we were coming up on our set screw hole, which I got to go just a little bit further here, but I'm going to get the set screw ready as well. Okay, I can see down in the hole right on my tape line. Gonna be good. Okay, so down in the aft hole now, we got the coupling on. The drive saver's laying underneath the motor, and there's the velvet drive. Got to slide this shaft up, get it hooked up, and then go down below and take a look at some stuff. Nice. You see it's kind of tight up in here. There's that new transducer we installed. Almost ready to go. Okay. Next step, coupling was bolted up to the transmission, everything's lined up, and I could spin the shaft by hand, which is great. I didn't even put any lube on the bearing yet. And then I tightened up a couple of these bolts and cinched this housing down, and same thing, it's still turned by hand. So what we're gonna do now, we'll pull it off, put the 5200 in behind it, glue it in place, and then we can get the propeller installed and put the rudder back in, and we should be good to go. Okay, got nice squeeze out all the way around, and even after it's tight, still spin her nice and freely by hand. Perfect. Let's put that propeller on.
Well, there's the propeller going back on. Everything was perfect, except I got word from the boat yard. They had to move my boat where it couldn't stay where it was sitting. And so, and we also had a really cold snap coming in. And so they said if I hurried, got everything put together, we could put it in the water that same afternoon. Otherwise, it was going to be move it, reblock it, winterize it in a few more days. And of course, I wasn't patient and actually just wadded the boat back in the water. So there's the rudder post back down into that shoe. That's a better shot. You can see how that works. There's the new propeller installed. We also have a new anode on, a different video for that. So it all worked out. Thanks for watching.